about to have another exciting session with another wonderful content creator, amazing content creator. And equally like Josh, he's going to share with us some insights. So without further ado, please give a big round of applause to Levanti. So Lewis is going to join me on stage because we all want to get to know Lewis a bit more and, of course, share with us some secrets, if I may, of his online journey. Of course, you might have noticed that in the afternoon we do have Patrice Evra. He's delivering his masterclass at 4 this afternoon, so feel free to join us for that as well. Before Patrice Evra, we've got a few other masterclasses, another one starting at 3:30. Patrice Evra, and then we've got another one at 5, if my memory is not failing me. But please feel free to check it out on mediterranean.com, and if you haven't registered yet, feel free to register free of charge. So here we go, our star, next star, Levanti. Fantastic, great to have you, Lewis. Sam here, Lewis, because I just mentioned you without me introducing myself to you, but I just, as if I know you, you know, this feeling that you meet online, you come across your content online, and it's like, you know the person, there's a connection.
Yeah, I feel like, especially when I make my content, I think my goal is to make everybody feel like they're my friends, because like obviously I don't get to meet everybody who watches my content, but the biggest feedback I've gotten is always like, you're just like your videos, like, oh, I want to be your friend, and I'm like, that makes me feel the best out of anything. So it's exciting to like come to Malta and like get to meet so many people. I've had people DMing me being like, I can't wait to see you at the meet and greet. I'm like, that's just so rewarding to me.
Lewis, just let's speak about Malta first before speaking about you. What was your impression of Malta before visiting Malta, I believe for the very first time, right?
This is my first time in Malta, but I've always had the goal of getting here. So I used to work for Paramount, and one of their brands is MTV. They do MTV Isle of Malta. So I worked internationally for them from New York, and I've always like had like the fascination with Malta to get here, to experience it, and I love it. We came to Valletta yesterday, did dinner. We experienced the gardens by our hotel. It's so beautiful. It's so nice, and also just so calming to not be in the States. It's a little stressful there sometimes, but no, it's been so great to be here.
And it's great to have you. So Lewis, just take us through your journey before Lewis Levanti of 3.3 million followers online. Who's Lewis Levanti? Or who was Lewis Levanti before this international online fame?
I love that you said who was Lewis Levanti, because my life from, I want to say 2019, when I first started like doing content, has changed so much to now. So I started I went to school for television and digital media, and I started working at Paramount. I was a coordinator, then I was a producer for MTV International, then I was a digital producer in LA, where I actually was doing more content in film around Paramount Plus films. But when I started my content, it was during the pandemic, like most people do take off during did take off during the pandemic. I started doing, if you guys are familiar with Comedy Central and the Comedy Central roasts, I didn't see anybody doing like funny, lighthearted roasts of celebrities online. So I took the roasts to TikTok, and I was just filming with my forehead. So you could only see my forehead, and I would roast celebrities, and it went viral, and I took off, and from there, my content has evolved to be, I still do pop culture, but more of like informational, like what's going on in music, television, film, and I also do lifestyle. I do content with my partner, Justin. We do like games around celebrities, and it's really evolved to just be, you know, going from being comedic about pop culture to now doing informative yet entertaining lifestyle, food, now travel types of content. And I also, when I was with Paramount, I did a lot of interviews. So I was their red carpet correspondent. I also did their press junkets, so I got to interview the cast of Transformers: Rise of the Beasts, iCarly, if you guys are familiar with iCarly, and so many other TV shows and movies that I got to just be a part of and humanize those actors and musicians at times.
You make it sound easy though. It wasn't, right? It was a journey of like experimenting And before your first viral video, I believe you've tested your content and tried to make inroads online. And so take us through the journey and insights on how you got your first video going viral.
Yeah, so content for me was kind of an outlet from my job. I was looking for something more creative because when I first started in the industry, I was on more of the marketing side where I wasn't making the content, but I was helping market other creators who were making content. So on the weekends, I was like, what can I do to help my brain stay creative? So I started making YouTube videos, and I would go home on the weekend, I'd film an entire YouTube video and edit it all in one weekend, post it because during the week I didn't have time. And when I watched them back, I could tell I was still understanding how to be on camera and how to talk to people who aren't actually there in the moment. And that was really hard at first. It was tough because I was putting myself into an environment and online where I just didn't know the space as well. But I'm so grateful I did because from those first videos where I clearly was anxious and nervous, I grew every video, getting more comfortable with my editing style, with the way I spoke. And then I posted that first TikTok video that got like 5 million views in like a couple hours, got removed from TikTok for like guidelines, and then I reposted it, got another 5 million views, and then I turned that whole format into a long-running series. And then from there, I built on it to get other series. But at times, it would be difficult because sometimes the series wouldn't hit, like people wouldn't watch it. And I'm like, oh, it's over. But I just kept going. And I think that's something a lot of people who aren't in content or getting started in content don't realize is like you have to start in order to like keep the snowball going and building. You can't just stop when you have one moment of like, not failure, but a feeling of failure.
All of us are interested in trying to find our unique voice online. You found yours. From where do we start to try and unpack and our toolkit, our inner toolkit, and find our unique voice online and start creating captivating content like yourself?
Yeah, my unique voice, I think you're always building on your voice. I feel like I feel the most myself in my content now, where when I first did it, I felt like it was more of an act at times, where I was like, this isn't really me. But the way I feel about my content now, and I think a lot of people should like frame the way they do their content, is if you're speaking to camera, I feel like you should act as if you're talking to a friend. If it feels like you're not talking to your friend, I don't think it'll resonate with your audience as much because they won't feel as important. Whereas like if we're sitting down just having a chat over coffee, we will have a different conversation, different tones of voice, different levels to our personality. And I feel like in my content now, it has a lot of that. And
So the first tip, Lewis, is make it conversational.
Make it conversational and personable. You want people to feel like they are your friend, because a lot of people comment on like me and my boyfriend's videos and are like, I want to hang out with you guys. And we're like, oh, like that makes us feel so good because it makes us feel like they're in on like a little inside joke with us.
What about the second and third tip you might want to share with us?
I think it's a confidence thing. When I first started, I never felt fully confident in what I was putting out there. And I think a lot of people probably struggle with that when they're first starting out. And you really do have to fake it till you make it a little bit, where it's like, I know a lot of what me and my friends talk about is you think of those people in your life from like whether you're in high school or middle school or even college, and you're like, what will they think? But you have to remember that it doesn't matter because what you think of yourself matters the most. And I think once I made that switch in my brain and became more confident in what I was doing, it portrayed and showed more in my content, and people resonated more with that.
Lewis, I want to ask you about another switch, the switch you made from Paramount to being an entrepreneur, a full-time content creator, because it takes a lot of courage to take the plunge and move to completely, to use his term, uncharted territory.
Yeah, very uncharted. And I have recently just left. So I left at the end of March. And it was tough for me because I had only known the stability of a full-time job. I've only known getting the opportunities I was getting through the job. So it was tough. It was tough to leave something where I was getting access to a lot of these stars and getting to interview them and just be a part of these moments. But then I had to remember that I was also having these moments on my own. Like, I'm here because of what I do, and it wasn't because of the job that I had. And there's still stability in what we do. It's just a matter of finding strategies on how to, keep keep safe with your bank account, and also understand that this is your job, but also it needs to be fun. So I know Josh talked about it, and there's definitely blurring of the lines sometimes with your job and your personal life, and I think that's something I've struggled with these past few months, but I'm still new to it, and I think I would like to say I'm doing a good job. I would like to hope, but it's definitely the best plunge I've ever taken.
Wow, and do you encourage all of us to do the same thing? What?
I think it would be irresponsible of me to say everybody should do it. I think it's a matter of your personal stance on it. Like, if you feel like you want to do that and you think you can do it, do it. Don't do it because other people are telling you to, because that was something I struggled with. So many people are like, why aren't you doing content full time? Like, you should do it, you can do it. But if I didn't feel like I could do it, I don't think I would have thrived and been successful. But there's a moment, and I think you mentioned it before, like my aha moment, and I had one with content, being like, oh, I can do content full time. But I also had the aha moment of, I can leave my job. Like, I need to leave my job, because it started to become overbearing. It felt like my job was taking away from the thing I was passionate about. So once I felt like my passions were being affected, then I was like, you know what, it's time. So you'll have that moment. If you make content, if you want to make content, you'll have the moment where you're like, I can do this full time when it feels right. Like, don't just do it because you think you have to.
I know that we're focusing on creating viral content, but I want to ask you, Lewis, on switching off from what we might perceive as an obsession as well, because for many, social media has become an obsession as well. Mm-hmm. So I want to ask you personally, how do you switch off? Because I believe that you spend time on social media trying to be inspired yourself with new content, but of course you need to switch off. How do you do that?
I want to touch on the obsession with social media first, because virality, I think everybody, even if you're not a content creator and you're just someone who's posting a video for fun, you're obsessed. You're like, I want to go viral. I want to have that moment. And I think something that's helped me stay in it as long as I've been, so from 2020 to now, is that I used to be obsessed with every video going viral, and if it didn't go viral, then it wasn't successful, but that's just like not true. I heard someone say one time that, like, when you have a video that doesn't go viral, but it still gets views and stuff like that, it's almost like an exclusive video that your followers get to see. So it's like exclusive content that's on the platform that only a specific group of people get to see. And that reframed my entire mindset, where if I don't get 1 million views, but it gets like a couple thousand, like that couple thousand people, just like picturing them in a room, I'm like, wow, like that's exclusive for this group of people. It's almost like I did like a show specifically for them. So I think reframing my mind to get off the obsession with virality, I think was super helpful. And then when it comes to like my daily life versus content, switching off can be a little hard, because sometimes I'll be doing things, I'm like, ooh, this would make for a good piece of content. And I think what I've learned and what I've heard from people in my life is that some of my best content is the content I just make like on a whim. I don't plan it, and I don't get stressed about it, because I feel like the content that I sit and I'm like, oh, I have to film this, I need to film it, it needs to be a good video, it never turns out good. It always leaves me wanting more, feeling like I could have done something better. So if I start to have that feeling, I'm like, you know what? This isn't a moment to film, this is a moment to enjoy and live my life. But there are days where, yeah, like my weekends I'm working because I'm filming things, or during the week I'm like, wow, I haven't filmed anything, what can I do? And that's okay. Like, you're allowed to take breaks, it's like a normal job, but sometimes our days are different.
I love the way how you reframed the question and reframed your answer as well. And you focused on trying to reframe the way you think about going viral, because we've got this obsession of creating content that needs to go viral. Yeah. But you know, it's really challenging.
Well, also I think a huge thing is people only see and hear about numbers. It's like, who has the most followers, who has the most views, and at the same time, that doesn't define your success anymore. I think back in like OG social media, yeah, that did define your success a little bit, and it still does hold some weight now. But at the same time, like, we're all content creators, we're all in the same community, and it's like, you could have 1,000 followers, you could have 100,000, you could have 100 million, and as long as you're making good content, entertaining people, that's success.
How do you deal with different online platforms?
Like, how do I deal with all of them?
Yeah.
So Similar to Josh, so I use TikTok. TikTok was my first platform. I'm very good with it. I feel very like it's like sleight of hand. I know how to use it really well. It has the best editing tools. But I've also grown my Snapchat, my YouTube, and my Instagram as well. And basically what I've started to do is I post most of my content on TikTok, repurpose it for the other platforms. But as of lately, specifically with YouTube, I've been posting exclusive content on YouTube just because there's a different audience there that I've learned as I've like read through comments and read through analytics. So on TikTok, I used to post solely pop culture content, but now I don't just do that. I do like maybe one pop culture video a week, and it's like a recap of everything that happened. And then on YouTube, I've noticed that they like digestible small bits. So I'll turn that recap into an exclusive one-off story. So like if we're talking about Jennifer Lopez in the recap, I'll make one Jennifer Lopez video on YouTube to like kind of be like, hey, here's like easier digestible 20-second videos for you to like listen to or, you know, watch. And then, yeah, I repurpose to the other platforms and occasionally do exclusive content. I think Snapchat is a little different though, because I do repurpose to Spotlight, which is like their TikTok, but then stories on there are so important because I think their story viewers are the most engaged. People love to see your daily life. So like right now I'm in Malta, so I'm tagging Malta, being like, here I am, I was in Valletta yesterday, here's where we ate. And people resonate with that more on there, whereas I feel like on Instagram, I post 5 to 10 stories and maybe they only watch the first 5. Whereas on Snapchat, I posted like 45 yesterday and people are watching all of it because that's what they go there for. So it's balancing the differences and the nuances of your audiences on each platform.
That's really interesting. What about like, how do you deal with online fame? Because I believe you receive hundreds of messages. And how you remain on top of your inbox?
It's hard to remain on top of like your DMs and stuff like that. But whenever I do get to answer someone or meet somebody in person, one, it's really rewarding for me. But I also, and this is something I carried in my interviews, is that people always remember how you make them feel. And I never want someone to meet me and have a bad experience with me. I want people to leave feeling energized, happy, excited. They want to be my friend. And that is kind of just how I am in life. I feel like there's no, like, life is short. Like, life is short. You can't be negative in life. So I think I'm the same way with my online presence, is just leading with kindness. When I first started, I will admit, I would clap back in the comments that mean people, but I learned the energy you put out, you'll receive. So I learned that I was being negative back to negative people, and it just welcomed more of that. And I changed that, and I just started to be more positive in my comment sections, being nice, talking to the people who enjoy me rather than people that don't like me. And from there, I've started to, I continue to build a community of just really kind people who love seeing me, love seeing my partner, love seeing my family and my friends. So I think it's just really what you put out there and how you engage that really keeps people wanting more, if that makes sense.
But you're touching on something really important, making yourself more likable.
Mm-hmm.
How can we be more likable online?
You gotta be yourself. I think that's the thing, is I naturally, I feel like I'm a kind person. My boyfriend might correct me, but I feel like I'm naturally just open to meeting people and open to new types of people in my life. And I think that's because I'm authentic. I think authenticity thrives. We've seen it time and time again. Like, the people that you see online and you meet them, they're exactly who they are. That is why they are where they are. So I think that was something I did even when I was like interviewing, say, the cast of iCarly. I just remember it so vividly. Before me, there was like a tabloid that went in and interviewed them and asked them very just like harsh questions that didn't make them feel comfortable. I could watch on a screen, so I saw them getting like anxious and uncomfortable, and that's not something I ever want to do to someone. So when I went in, I asked them like funny questions about like their characters and like what like other shows they want to do crossovers with, and it excited them. And I think if I can take those learnings from a professional setting into like a personal setting, people will like that more. And I think that's just a natural likability versus like putting on a facade that people have to be likable. And I think sometimes people will pretend to be these nice people, and then you meet them and you're kind of disappointed. And that's a bummer. You don't want that. You want people to see you online, and then when they see you in person, they know what they're getting.
So authenticity is key. So first important tip you shared with us is making it conversational. Mm-hmm. Possibly the second one is authenticity. So, Louis, if I may, I'm going to open the floor for some Q&As.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm certain that you want to ask questions, so feel free just to ask any questions whatsoever to our star, Louis Levanti, who came specifically for this masterclass as part of the Mediterranean Film Festival. His background, of course, is working for Paramount before, so his online stardom, so he is connected to the film industry, which is changing dramatically as well.
Yeah.
Also because of social media.
I think too, to touch on the film thing before somebody asked.
Yeah, go ahead.
To touch on like the film aspect of it and the TV aspect of it, and including music, I think something that's really unique about what I do is a lot of the brand deals that I'll do or the work that I do is to promote some of your favorite shows and movies. And I think the way advertising is shifting, they're working a lot with people like me to make 30-second little adverts on TikTok. And I think that's really shifted the landscape of television. It also makes people like, almost like live watch parties. Like everybody's like, oh, we're all watching the same thing. Let's chat about it in the comments. And I've loved that so much because usually it's just me and my boyfriend looking at each other and being like, what did you think of that? And like, that's fun and all for us, but then it's like, what are the wider audience thinking?
Thank you so much, Louis. So we do have a question. No? Of course, okay. So I don't know if we can start from there. Sorry for that. Go ahead.
Hi, so I wanted to ask, when you decided to leave your job and become a full-time content creator, what's your routine like your daily routine?
I'm struggling with that right now because sometimes I'll wake up. I have like my normal routine. Like I'll wake up, I'll do like my breakfast, I'll go to the gym, but then I get home and I remember like, oh my God, this is my job. What do I want to film today? Like, how do I want to film it? So I've been trying to do my morning routine when I get home. And it's like, okay, planning, what am I going to film today? Filming, I'll film it. Editing, I'll edit it. Sometimes I'll have days, though, where I plan and film multiple videos, and then over time I edit them. So it's really what you are more comfortable with. I think something that I like is filming a lot in one day and then taking multiple days to edit and post, because it's almost like batch creating. People always say, batch your content, have a ton of content ready to go. But now that it's my full-time job, I have more time to be like very meticulous about each video. So I film a lot one day, I'll edit over the course of a couple days, post in real time. And then as like, there might be like a moment at like 5 p.m. where I'm like, day's over, time to cook dinner. It really is fluid. I think it always changes. Like some days, there's some days where I'll admit I don't do anything. Like I feel like very, I call it paralyzed, where like I feel like burnt out. Almost too much creativity went on the past few days that I need a moment. But in those moments, I'll go out and experience the world, whether it's, I started a series like finding the best coffee shop in Los Angeles. So I started going out and trying coffee. And I'll be filming it, but not thinking, oh, this will be a video later. But then I edit it another day when I'm feeling more motivated. So it changes, but I'm trying to get it to be more consistent.
So we do have another question here. So feel free, whoever is joining us, to move forward if you wish. So to feel more intimate and engaged. So.
Hello. Firstly, it's a pleasure to meet you. I had DM'd you yesterday. Yes. Do you always feel like doing content, or are there some days where you struggle, and how do you deal with that?
Definitely some days I struggle. I think I've talked about it on my platform where like that has become content for me. Like there will be days where I'm like, I don't know what I want to film. I'm not passionate about anything today. I don't know what my audience wants to see. And I've learned that I used to stress myself out with being like, you have to post every day, like every single day, maybe twice a day on every single platform. And I think that's what drains a lot of us. And I think a lot of people who are new to content think like, oh, I have to be posting 10 times a day, 5 times a day. And sometimes that works for people, but for me personally, those are the moments where if I'm posting or doing too much, I lose it all. I almost have a blank. I'm just like, what was I gonna do today? And I think it's okay to have that, but it's how you bounce back from it. So it's like, okay, maybe on a Monday, I was feeling absolutely unmotivated to film a video, but then I know myself and I know Tuesday, we have another day. I'll be back, so I'll wake up, do my routine, film something, and get it up there. And I think it's just really how you bounce back. It's okay to have your lapses. It's like when in school, like, I didn't want to do my schoolwork all the time, but I knew I had to get it done at some point. I think if you just frame it like that, it's like, get it done when you can, at the pace that you can.
Do you mind if I get your name, please?
I'm Bettina Farrugia.
Bettina. So inspired by what Bettina said, because she shared with us that she DM'd you yesterday, So I want to ask you if there was a moment like an interaction, a message you received that changed your perspective on something, on what you do, that touched you really.
Yeah, I actually had, so back in, it was about October, November of 2021, I officially came out as part of the LGBTQ community. And that was a huge moment that I realized how many people were watching me and being inspired by me, because I was flooded with so many messages of people who were like me, being like, I can't come out to my family or I can't do this, but seeing you do it on such a large platform has inspired me to one day do it, or made me feel comfortable in this space. And I think that it hit me really hard, because I realized for so long that like I was feeling trapped a little bit, and to feel the way I was feeling and share that with people, it made me feel like my platform was such a safer space for a larger group of people that I didn't know was there. And yeah, that was, and I got so many DMs, and I remember showing my roommate, my old roommate, and I was just like, this is crazy, because she was the first person I had told. And I was like, there's so many people, and she was like, don't you feel like this was the time? And it did. It felt, everything just aligned perfectly when I told my family, when I told my friends, when everybody found out. It was, yeah, that was when a big moment, 2021.
Lewis, you make it sound as if like, well, this was all organic, but there was a lot of thought into it. There was a lot of like long nights, hard work that you've put into it. And to captivate audiences, the way you're sharing it with us is you need both technical skill and an emotional connection as well. My question is, how do you balance both? And what advice would you share with us to make it work?
I think there needs to be, you need to acknowledge with your audience that there is like a technical standpoint to it. I think a good example is a lot of people, so we obviously, when we do branded content, we have to disclose, hey, like I'm getting paid for this. I acknowledge that a lot of the time. Like I will be like, guys, like I'm getting paid for this because I want them to know like we're working together here. Like I want to entertain you, but sometimes I got to pay the bills. And I think acknowledging the technical and like logistics of everything makes it feel more authentic. And I think people respect that more. But then there's also the emotional side where it's like, I don't want to promote things to my audience that I wouldn't agree with. And I think I want people to trust me. And to be a trustworthy person on the internet is, I don't want to say it's rare, but I think a lot of the time some people aren't trustworthy and are very new to it, and they're like, okay, money, money, money. But it's like, these are people, normal, genuine human beings that are just watching you to escape from the world, and you can't be lying to them or making them feel like they're like a part of a bit. Like I never want people to feel like I'm swindling them or lying to them. And I think I've learned that, especially I have a new format that me and my partner do, and it's Guess the Celebrity, and we literally just film us playing a game. And so many people are like commenting that they're playing with us and like getting them wrong or getting them right, tagging their friends, tagging their family. And I'm like, that is like the emotional side where I'm like, we are playing this game together. You're in the room with me. And I feel like that's where I can make that divide. It's like, yes, I'll have these really well thought out videos, but then I have the ones where I'm like, all right, we're just gonna play a game today. And people really love that. And my boyfriend coined this. He was like, there's performative content and then there's organic content. Performative, I feel like, is more of the stuff that I really, really plan, whether it be my interviews or it be a pop culture video. But then the organic is like us just playing a game, and the only planned part of it is me picking the celebrities he has to guess, and then we're playing. So I feel like there needs to be a divide in your content.
Lewis, I'm really grateful because you shared a lot of key takeaways from this 30-minute conversation we had. One last question is, because these are the most determined, aspiring content creators in Malta, possibly. What advice would you give them to find their unique voice and possibly to manage to create viral content eventually?
I think something that I learned, and I'm so grateful that I did, was just start posting. Don't even think about it. If you have an idea or something you want to say it, do it, you'll learn from it. And then as you're navigating this world, one of the best pieces of advice that I've ever gotten is, because I'm very hard on myself, I'm super critical of everything I do, and I look at other people, I'm like, well, why did this work for them and not for me? Comparison is the thief of all joy. If you're constantly comparing yourself to other people, you will never be happy with what you put out. So once I stopped looking at other people's stuff and I really just looked at my own content and was like, what makes me happy? What makes my audience happy? I think from there, my content has just evolved into what it is now. If you watched my videos in 2020 up until now, I feel like it changes like every month. Like I do something different every month, and that's because I stopped looking at what other people are doing. I'm like, what do I enjoy? So yeah, I feel like don't compare yourself, post the video, and just have fun with it. I think having fun is so important. People aren't having fun anymore, and like, you need to have fun when you're making content because people will see if you're not having fun. So have fun.
I'm seeing some staring faces. What about the hate comments? How do you deal with that?
Hate is, you'll never escape hate. It's always there. You can't be like, oh, I'm not gonna receive any hate comments. You'll get them. My best piece of advice is never entertain them, ignore them, and just know that you will likely never see these people in person. I think that's the big takeaway. I've never had someone come up to me and tell me they hated me. And if they did, then like, not to be mean, but it's a little crazy if you walk up to someone and you're like, I don't like you. That's a little off. So I think hate comments are just a part of the territory, but they're such a small percentage if you're more focused on the positive.
Lewis, I have to tell you one thing. We like you and we adore you. We really appreciated making time for us.
Thank you so much. It was so great to be here. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much, Lewis
you.
Levanti.
Thank you.
Such a pleasure having you. Thank you, Lewis. Cheers, mate. Thank you for being with us, and I hope that we see you again for the forthcoming masterclasses this afternoon. We have next one starting in a bit, but in this room we have another one scheduled at 3:30. So if you failed to register, feel free to go on mediterranean.com/register. So see you later. Thank you so much.